This is Mrs. Rodriguez, and today's lesson is on local area network and wide area networks. A local area network, or a LAN, is a network that is contained within a small geographic area. Advantages of a LAN. 1. It saves money. You only need to buy things like a printer once because a printer can be shared between all of the computers on the network. 2. Files and data can be shared easily. 3. Files and data can be accessed from any computer on the network. It doesn't matter which computer in the school you log onto, you can access your work files. 4. Data, like emails, can be sent around the LAN very fast. The cables that connect the computers can handle very fast data transfer. 5. The LAN can be easily monitored. The network managers can check people's internet usage or change their passwords. Disadvantages of a LAN. 1. Viruses can spread very quickly. This is because the computers are all joined together. If one computer gets infected, the others are at risk. 2. Security can be an issue. If one computer is hacked into, the computers on the network, the other computers on the network can also be accessed. 2. Security can be an issue. If one computer is hacked into, the other computers on the network can also be accessed. 3. The network can become unstable if the main server computer breaks down. You won't be able to log on or access any of your files if the server itself is broken. 4. Slow internet connections. All the computers on the network share the same internet connection, and this can make it slow for users. 5. Initial cost of installing the LAN is high. Buying cables and equipment can be quite expensive. The LAN usually requires a username and a password to gain access. The server or the computer that manages the LAN authenticates your password so that it can serve you the right files. Computers on a LAN are easily linked together through cables. For example, a school campus has several buildings but are all connected to the same network. Let's think about our campus. There are several buildings on our campus. There is the high school building, the cafeteria, the admin building, the elementary building, even the activity center. Although all of these buildings are separate, they are connected, usually underground, by a cable that makes them all one network. So someone can log into the high school and access their files. They can go over to the elementary lab and access their files, or they can log on to a computer in one of the offices in the admin buildings and still be able to use their username and password to get access to their files. This is the beauty of a LAN. It connects all of your computers together, even if they are contained in separate buildings. However, they must be in a small geographic area. Even though we have 4 or 5 buildings on campus, they're all contained within one site, which is the Kingsway Academy campus. Usernames. Your username is usually some combination of your first and last name. For example, usernames that I can use can be things like E. Rodriguez or Rodriguez E or Rodriguez ERN. Passwords. It is recommended that your passwords are robust or hard to hack. So some suggestions for robust passwords are things like it must have a capital letter, it should have a number and a symbol, and it should not have less than 8 characters. And I'm sure these are things that you've seen even when you create your own passwords on the internet for different sites. Here are some suggestions on creating a robust password. Instead of using the letter A, use the @sign. Instead of the letter S, use the $sign. Instead of the number 1, the letter I, or the letter L, use an exclamation point. Instead of the letter E, use the number 3. And instead of the letter P, you can use the number 9. And if you use these when you create passwords, it makes creating a robust password much less frustrating. So here's my friend Susie and her husband Harold, who's laying off taking a nap during quarantine. Help Susie to create a robust password. She has tried the following passwords which were rejected. Help her to turn her options into robust passwords. So Susie has tried using her cat's name, Fluffy. She tried using her wedding date, which is the 5th of April 2000. And then she tried using her and Harold's name together, Harold and Susie. All of these passwords were rejected. So take a minute, think about these passwords, and suggest to Susie how she can turn these passwords into more robust passwords, or passwords that are harder to hack. Okay, now that you've thought about it, here are some of my suggestions. Instead of just Fluffy in lowercase, I've added a capital F, I've replaced the L with an exclamation point, and I've added the number 2 at the end. And then instead of the date in short date form for her wedding date, I actually spelled out the word April using a capital A to begin. And I use a comma, which represents my special character, to separate the day and the year. The third one, we've replaced the A in Harold with an @ the L with an exclamation point, the word and with an ampersand, and the S in Susie with a $. So it was quite easy to give Susie a password that is going to be far more robust than the ones that she was going to use. Thanks for helping Susie out. Let's look at a wide area network. A WAN, or wide area network, is created when 2 or more LANs are connected together. Because the networks are physically far apart in a WAN, they require things like telephone lines, satellite signals, or fiber optic cables to connect them. Okay, let's use, for example, describing a WAN, the network of Scotiabank. Here is a map of Nassau, which indicates where all of the branches of Scotiabank exist. Think of every branch in the bank as a LAN. It is a network that is contained within a small geographical area. However, you would like, as a customer, to be able to go to any branch of Scotiabank and be able to withdraw your money either from the ATM or from the teller. This means that they need to be connected to each other. So, all of the branches of Scotiabank are connected using either a telephone line through PTC ISP, or Internet Service Provider, or fiber optic cables using things like Cable Bahamas as an Internet Service Provider. When all of these individual LANs connect together, they create a wide area network, or a WAN. So you can easily see how files can be shared from one LAN to the next LAN when they are connected together in a WAN. The internet is the largest WAN. And when you think about it, you can see it quite easily. Think about the Bahamas having a WAN, connecting its WAN to the WAN in the United States, who then connects its WAN to the WAN in Europe, that then connects to Africa, Australia, and all of the continents of the earth. So this is what creates the internet. So you are now able to call your sister who's in college in China quite easily and have a conversation with her, see her, send her pictures of your latest date or your latest crush. And you do those things within seconds because everyone is connected together. Let's talk about advantages of a WAN. Computers can be connected over wide areas. I just explained that you can be in Nassau, Bahamas, and be speaking to somebody in China and be able to access them within seconds, send them an email, ping them on Facebook, be able to connect to them over FaceTime or WhatsApp. On a WAN, files can be shared around the world. People can use computers to communicate very quickly over large areas. And then, of course, there is the beautiful thing of e-commerce. This allows people with disabilities to purchase items online and have them delivered to their door. And I'm sure e-commerce is something that's very big now in the midst of this quarantine where people cannot leave their houses. They are able to utilize sites online to access things like groceries and much needed medical supplies. The biggest advantage of a WAN is that your devices can be anywhere. As long as they are in range of the network's router, usually a wireless router, they can access the internet. Disadvantages of a WAN. So of course, security can be an issue. Computers on the network need to be secured with a firewall, and important files should be encrypted because there is a potential that any of the computers on the network can be accessed. It is very easy to accidentally download viruses from a WAN onto your computer. You need to make sure that your computer is protected with some sort of up-to-date antivirus. Data is transferred across a WAN at a much slower rate than it is across a LAN because the download speeds are limited. Monitoring a WAN can be difficult because they have so many computers connected to them. This means that inappropriate content can be uploaded. Okay, let's wrap up by comparing and contrasting a local area network versus a wide area network. A LAN is a small geographic area, but a WAN is a large geographic area. A LAN is easy to monitor, whereas a WAN is more difficult to monitor. On a LAN, files are transferred quickly. On a WAN, data transfer is very slow. On a LAN, it is less vulnerable to hackers because it's a more enclosed environment that requires a username and a password. But on a WAN, you are more vulnerable to hackers. On a LAN, viruses are possible, but they are usually protected by an antivirus software. But on a WAN, it is very likely for you to download a virus. And that concludes our lesson on LAN versus WAN. I hope you enjoyed it.